Not too bad. All right, production team, take care of this lady. Her name is Ral West. She's from Alaska. And despite not having sunshine for 6 months out of the year, whatever happens there, she
Well, that's not quite true. I'm looking out at sunshine right now.
look at that. So, oh no, I'm sorry. I'm in New Hampshire. We don't have sunshine 6 months out of the year here because it's snowing here. So, um, three claps. I'll welcome you in and we'll get right to it. Here we go.
Okay.
Hey, Ral, welcome to the CEO Sales Strategies Podcast. Thanks so much for being here today.
Hi, Doug. It's great to be here.
And you are coming from the great state of Alaska, correct?
Yes, the largest state. Yes,
The
indeed.
largest state in land mass?
Absolutely. Over
Yes.
twice the size of Texas.
Wow. I
Just
didn't know that. I should know
like
that.
that.
I
Yeah.
guess, I
We
guess
have
I'll,
almost 1 square mile per person.
wow. See, all those years of college evidently didn't pay off on my end on the geography side.
Well, you're not alone. I have to dispel lots of misconceptions about Alaska when I meet people, and oftentimes I'm told I've never met anybody from Alaska before. And I say, well, that's because there aren't that many of us.
That's true. So there's only two states in the United States I haven't been to, North Dakota or Alaska. So those are two on my list to go to.
Well, I hope Alaska's first.
Yeah, well, why wouldn't it
Yes,
be?
yes,
Starts with an
absolutely.
A. You got to start alphabetically, right? So, Ralph, you have a really interesting backstory and a back history. Why don't you tell everybody what you've done and let's set the frame for this.
Okay. Well, the nickel tour is that over 4 decades ago, I became an entrepreneur by starting my own small business in Anchorage, Alaska. I wasn't from Anchorage. I was born and raised in Seattle, but I moved to Anchorage in the early 1980s. And there I met my husband, and he started stealing some ideas from me, actually, and started a business that involved some aspects of my business, which was marketing consulting, specializing in tourism. His background was real estate and construction, and he ended up starting a business where he was representing condo owners who lived in Alaska but had condos in Hawaii. And some of my clients were in Hawaii, and he saw me flitting off on business trips, and he wanted free trips to Hawaii too. So, yeah, that,
Not not to get in a controversial subject here, but I probably would have borrowed those ideas too if I was in Alaska and wanted to go to
I know.
Hawaii.
Yeah, but I made him pay me. And he said, okay, I'll take you to dinner. So I say that was our first date. He says it was a business meeting. Mm, it was a date.
Well, the question is, did you write it off? That's the question.
I'm sure he did. I'm sure he did. But yeah, because he paid. But less than a year later, we were married. So just, think about that.
Yeah, I think he did well.
Yeah. So we worked together. I mean, I still had my own business, and so I wasn't day to day involved in his for a little while. But pretty soon, I got kind of sucked into that because it was getting bigger and bigger. And when we started doing guarantees on chartering jets to fly people between Alaska and Hawaii, then my interest was very much piqued, and I abandoned my little business to work full time with my husband, and we're still married. It's been 41 years, so it's worked okay. And that business, we grew for 25 years, got it to 8 digits in annual revenue, and then sold it to Alaska Airlines. And then instead of retiring, like many thought we would at that point, we pivoted into other industries and started buying and leasing small cruise ships. And then after that kind of went away during COVID, then we started getting into investments in multifamily real estate syndications. And we're invested in about over 6,000 apartment units in 5 states across the US. So that's just, the nickel tour of my background. And we still have several businesses, most of them real estate oriented. But in 2023, I started another business. Not that I needed another business, but my daughters, who are adults, sort of urged me to start sharing my journey and they found that everybody who meets us says, we want to have your life. You guys are living the dream. And they said, you need to teach them, Mom, because you have a knack for being able to juggle all these businesses and still do all of your traveling and have your two homes and your yacht and so forth. And how do you do it? And I said, oh, well, it's easy because I just do, this, and this. And they said, yeah, teach people. It's not that easy for them. So I decided that, this really is a passion for me. I love business. I love living my dream. So let's make it into a business and see where it leads me. And the deal I made with myself and my husband is that as long as it's fun, I'll keep doing it. And so far, it's been fun.
And so you have developed over the years, we'll call them success principles, right? For
I like that.
sustain, for sustainability and other factors in business. And
Yes.
doing exactly with what you just talked about, which is frankly most people's goal in business. Even if they want to build a business to exit it, they want to build the business to exit it to move on to, what people call quality of life, like, being able to take the trips, do whatever, have
Yes.
the financial stability and everything else that comes along with that. So what, I'm curious, what are well, let's start with principle number one. What would that be?
Systems.
Systems.
Gotta have systems. I don't care how small your company is, whether you're just starting out or whether you've been at it for 10 or 20 years, you have to have systems, even just basic systems. How to organize your emails, how to organize your workflow, how to pay your bills, automating things as much as you can, just basic systems. And then as your business gets more complicated and it grows, your systems need to get more complicated as well. And your team will likely grow, and therefore you need to develop manuals and written procedures and written policies so that you can pass them on to other people and share your knowledge so that they can start doing some of the things that you've been doing by yourself. You want to take some of that workload off of your shoulders so that you can focus on growing the business or taking some time for yourself. Most entrepreneurs, when they start off, think, oh, I'm going to have so much freedom. I'm going to be my own boss. And then they find out that the business is the boss and that they're owned by the business. They've just got another job and they're employed by their business. And that's not what they really wanted when they got into it.
Right. Yeah. Well, and I've had that issue as well. We start a new company and it's like, oh, well, I know better. And then all of a sudden it's like, oh, well, this is, as we started the other companies, we're going through similar thing. Now we might be a little more ahead because we know to create some systems, so to speak, right? But to me, the systems give you predictable leverage. They give you predictable outcomes if they are truly a followed system. Because you could have
Yes.
the planning and the procedures down, but if it's not accountable to
Yeah.
those two, then it goes the other
Right.
way.
You can write them down and then file them away and never use them, and
Yeah.
that's not going to work. You have to actually act on them. And just yesterday, I created a new system for my new business because I found I was, overwhelmed by a certain type of task. And I'm like, wait a minute, I need to start employing something that I preach. And I created a system. And all of a sudden, it's like, whew, that feels wonderful. I got that off my shoulders. So yeah, it's an ongoing process. These principles are eternal, foundational principles, and they last for all time. It doesn't matter that I stumbled upon them 40 years ago, 30 years ago. They're still applicable, and you have to use them consistently.
Well, that is what I love about what you said is it's an ongoing process. So companies who are small, even single person operators, right? They
Mhm.
can have systems in their business. And as
Absolutely.
we grow, those systems change. I heard you say that, and I've
Mhm.
experienced that as well.
Mhm.
And frankly, if we don't have systems in the business, we then run into stagnation points and we'll get stuck. That's what I've
Yes.
learned by not
Or,
having systems. Is that the case for you?
or or you get burned out.
Ah,
You realize that you're trying to juggle too many balls when the system can take those balls from you and take care of them.
Yeah, it's like pushing the gas pedal down on your vehicle and keeping it in neutral. Eventually the engine says no more.
Exactly. And, that's where I was about 3 decades ago. We were mom and pop running this business that was growing, and we were juggling everything ourselves. And I had young kids and volunteer activities. And oh my God, sleep was a luxury. Didn't take care of myself, didn't take care of my body. I was a mess. Didn't eat right, didn't exercise. And yeah, I realized something has to change. This isn't sustainable.
So one of the things I wanted to ask you, because a lot of people will bring this up, it's like, okay, well, if I'm going to leverage or create systems through other like technology or other people or whatever, what happens if they don't, like I don't know, the people don't follow it, or it breaks, or and then don't I get sucked back into having to fix all this stuff all over again, and I got more on me than I did before?
Well, now you're referring to some of the other principles among the six. So,
Well,
systems was number one, but number two is to measure and track your data. So, you're not going to know if something's going awry unless you have the data. So, you have to set up some metrics so that you can track what's going on and stay on top of it no matter where you are. I mean, we had metrics and reports set up so that we could be traveling halfway around the world and we'd get our daily, weekly, monthly reports so that we knew how the business was doing wherever we were. Internet, of course, makes that quite easy.
sure.
So there's that. And then the third principle is leverage, which is using your team members, outsourcing if you can, using automation, all these forms of leverage. Actually, education is a form of leverage, getting more information, in your head so that you can deploy it. And when you use leverage properly, and that brings us to the fourth point, which is build your team. If you're going to leverage your team, there's a right way and a wrong way to do that. And the right way is to make sure that they have all of the guidelines, all of your policies, all of your procedures, written job manuals. This is kind of tying the systems into the team. And when your team is fully armed with the tools that they need, then you can trust that team to carry forward in the way that you want. And that brings us to the next principle, which is your culture. If you don't purposefully build your culture and teach everybody, these are the important principles, these are the foundations of our business, our guiding principles, then you use those to also guide your team. And you can set up what we learned from Robert Kiyosaki is the fruit bowl theory of business, which is you have a bowl with firm sides, whether it's glass or wood or whatever your bowl is made of, those sides are static. But inside that bowl, the fruit can, be whatever you want, grapes, bananas, oranges, whatever, and they're free to use their own discretion as long as they stay inside the shape of that bowl. So, sometimes my husband would say we're like putting up a snow fence on a highway. You're doing well as long as you stay on the highway and don't go across the snow fence. So, being in New Hampshire, you know about that kind of thing. But so those are really, really key aspects, and they are all intertwined. You can't take just one of these principles and have it stand on its own. They all depend on each other. It's like a spider's web, or sometimes I call it a six-legged stool. And that reminds me, there's a sixth principle. The sixth principle is customer service. And not just any old customer service, but customer service that delights your customers. So, in order to find out if you're delighting your customers, you need to go back to principle number two, which is measuring and tracking your data. Get the feedback from your customers so that you know if they're satisfied. And if they're not, find out what they want. What will make you happy? What will delight you? And then you have to put your systems and processes in place to make sure that that's delivered consistently. So, there you have it.
So we're speaking with Ral West, and Ral is laying out her 6 principles for success in business, based on 40 years of doing business and doing it successfully. Uh, I was thinking as we were going along, and you were mentioning all of these principles. some people are probably sitting there going, okay, these all sound great in theory. How long does it take me to put all this in?
Well, it took us about 5 years.
Yep.
So when we started diligently learning, reading books, studying with Robert Kiyosaki, etc., and he pointed us to the book by Michael Gerber called The E-Myth, which every entrepreneur should read that book. And that was really a roadmap for us. And the difference between us and most people is that a lot of people, we would refer other people to that book and they'd say, yeah, I read that book. It was a great book. And then I'd say, well, did you use those principles? Did you execute? Well, no, I haven't gotten around to that yet. But our trick is that we actually executed what we read in that book. And so we started purposefully developing the systems, purposefully developing the team and the culture and all of that. And so then that did take us a while, but we were learning as we went along. So somebody learning from me can have the benefit of all those learning experiences, and I can compress that execution time quite a bit. Now, it may still take a year, but not 5 years. And when at the end of those 5 years, we were able to walk away from the business. We hired a COO and a CFO, and they took our foundation and grew the business even more. And we went off to our second home in Maui and, traveled around on our yacht and flew around the world. And we visited all 7 continents and we've been having a ball.
So
Yeah.
and I agree with you, Michael Gerber's book, I think it was Molly's Muffin Shop was the first example or something like that, if I remember correctly, right? Um, I want to talk with you about one thing because I understand these principles and I've lived them. I'm a data optimization guy, right? So I look at all the metrics and measure everything, and they tell
Wonderful.
you a story. That's where, when you're measuring things, folks, that the data, the math will tell you the story. And so you know where to go in and intercede, or what's working great, or what's, working amazing, and what's not working at all, so to
Yes,
speak.
as long as you're measuring the right data.
Good point. That's an excellent point. You must measure the right data. If you're looking for output and you're not measuring what gives you the output, you're
Mhm.
gonna, I mean, it's like flying you mentioned flying in, in a plane, and if you want to go to Maui, but you head east, you're not gonna make Maui.
Not unless you start in Japan. No.
But you run out of, runway and fuel usually by the time you
Hmm.
get there, right? You'd have to refuel. So
Yep.
I'm sitting here looking at this and I'm like, okay, great. How the person looks at this and they go, okay, I can put all of this in place. It will take me a year. Ral, I've been in business for 7 years now, 10 years now. I'm playing the other side of the fence, the objection side, right? Going,
Sure.
uh, you know, can I
I
really
don't
do it in a year? My business is so messed up. It's crazy.
know. Well, there's that. And then like, okay, you've got your business to this point and you don't want to make any changes, so you like it the way it is,
There you go. Yeah. Yeah.
that's fine. Keep doing it. And you keep doing it and you'll get the same results. If you want to have change, you're going to have to do something different.
So let's talk about letting go then, because this was, I can say, even in my life on some of the companies that we've had, letting go was scary for me,
Hmm.
because it
Hmm.
was like, and then I learned, it's me, right? Because there are people out there who are way better at certain functions than what I can do. And I learned that kind of through the hard way. But a lot of people won't let go. And so how does one, because you had to learn to let go, right? I mean, I'm not saying take your hand completely off it. I'm saying
Right.
let go and let others do what you're putting in place of the systems. So what's the mental mindset that goes, on, and how does one kind of work through that process?
Okay. Well, here's kind of like a metaphor that can help you
Okay.
think of it. It's like you're the captain of a ship and you're at the helm of the ship and you have all of these dials and gauges and so forth in front of you so that you're watching all these different aspects of the operation of the ship. And you have an engineer that keeps, the ship running, and you've got lines and fenders, and, there's all kinds of systems that keep a ship moving in the right direction. Now, as the captain, you have to steer the course for that ship. And the course is not always going to be a straight line, especially if it's a sailboat, you're certainly going to be tacking back and forth, and you need to make adjustments to your course as you go along. So that's your role as the captain of the ship, to navigate and set the course, make the corrections, make sure all the systems of that ship are operational. So that includes all of your crew or your team, and the all of the water, the power, the fuel, everything that makes that ship run. You're in charge of making sure all of those are in place. So you are not going to just leave the helm. I mean, I think that's what happened when the Exxon Valdez hit a reef, is
Yeah.
the captain left. So that's not a good idea. So you need to keep your eye on it, but that doesn't necessarily mean you have to be doing everything yourself. You're not going to be deploying the lines or down in the engine room or, any of those other tasks. You have to put your team in place to do that and make sure they're doing it the way you want.
So if I was advising people here, I would say, all right, let's step back and determine what the goal is that you want. Do you want to
Mhm.
be a smaller, I have my finger in everything type
Mhm.
business?
Mhm.
And by the way, there's nothing wrong with that if people want to have that type of business. But what I'm
Right.
hearing is, if you don't want that type of business, there is no other choice. You've got to go through these 6 points, and we've got to be able to let go. And like you said, the captain's not down there, on the dock holding onto the fuel tank hose and sticking it into the ocean liner.
Yeah.
She or he or they are not there. They're not doing that.
Right.
There's just like when we go on an airline, I mean, the captain might do a safety check with the people in the cockpit and the crew,
Yeah.
but they're not underneath the plane fixing the wheel if it needed a new bearing, let's say, right, or whatever.
Right. Right.
They have a
There are
mechanic for that, right?
there are roles and responsibilities for every member of the team, and they're very strictly laid out, especially on an airplane.
Yeah,
So
well, I hope so,
yeah.
especially a commercial
Yeah.
one.
Yeah.
So, but I mean, if you have a small plane and you want to own that and repair your own plane, there's nothing wrong with that. We're not talking
Right.
about that, folks. What we're talking about is
Absolutely.
you may not even want to be Delta Airlines. That's okay too, right? You could be Alaska Airlines, like the business that bought your business.
Yep.
Delta's quite bigger than Alaska, and
Yeah. Although
or
Alaska,
JetBlue. I think JetBlue owns
Alaska,
like. Hmm?
yeah, Alaska just got bigger. They just bought Hawaiian Airlines.
Oh, I did not know that.
Yeah.
Ooh.
Ooh, it's a true international airline now.
Ooh, look at that. Like, see, now you got both covered, Alaska and Hawaii. So now you can just,
And Australia, where our daughter lives. So yay. So
yeah.
we're
And
excited about that.
so the point I want people to get out of our conversation, Ral, is that they can work smarter, not harder,
Mhm.
deploying the leverage components of what you're talking about, including the leverage. And the reason I was so excited for you to come on to this call is I have been for the last 20 years doing these type of surveys, like measuring and tracking, right?
Mhm.
And it always comes up in the same kind of 5 categories. Like one is I want new clients. It's always
Mhm.
kind of like number one. Better
Mhm.
quality clients, better marketing.
Mhm.
I want to hire better people, and I want to work smarter, not harder, right? Those are
Mhm.
kind of the 5 categories it fits in. Now, the smaller the business, this is the interesting part of measuring data to me. The smaller the business, the work smarter, not harder moves up to the number 2 spot.
Mhm.
And on the larger businesses, it goes to number 4 or number 5, depending on the industry. So
Mhm.
what does that tell people? That, to me, that tells me that if you have a larger business, you have systems and processes and things that you're talking about putting in. And so
Mhm.
it doesn't become as it's important, but not as like, ah, my gosh, I'm losing my mind every single day of my life. And if you're a smaller business, this is how you get to be a bigger business, working smarter, not harder. Is that an accurate statement in your?
Yes, except that in my experience, I've seen some very large businesses that have crap for systems. Sorry to be so blunt.
That's okay.
Hey, big businesses, multinational corporations that have not invested in the technology that they need to, and they've not trained their team. Their customer service sucks. These are all aspects of these principles that they're not employing. So, but to go back a little bit, you're talking about you have to decide what you want, especially if you're a solopreneur. And that's why the very first module of my course encompasses, the 6 principles, but there's a first module that asks the question, what do you want? What do you want for your life? What do you want for your business? And how will this business support your life goals? Yeah, I think too many people start a business, just think about the business goals and they don't pull back and say, yeah, but is this going to support how I want to live my life? And then they find themselves caught up
Yep.
in something that is not making them happy. And then I'm like, well, then why are you doing it? Just stop. And so I think you need to start with, what is it that you really want? And you need to define for yourself, do I want to be pretty much a solopreneur or a really small shop? And I'll have support from a bookkeeper and maybe I'll have a virtual assistant and my team will be really small. Now, the 6 principles still apply, but they're just deployed and executed in a different way.
Yes.
Now, if you're going to be a bigger company and have 50, 100, 200, whatever employees, then all these principles are deployed in a little bit more complicated fashion because, as you say, you probably already have some good systems, and well, hopefully they're good. You have some systems in place. You need to decide whether they're good or not. But yes,
Yeah,
there's a big
so
difference.
and if you're, to your point, if you're a larger company or even a smaller company and you don't have these systems processes, you don't have the customer service being measured, all of the things going on, and you're just looking at your business like, okay, we brought 4 in today, but we lost 3, so
Mm.
we're up 1. Um, Sometimes that works, but most of the time it catches up at some point to businesses. I'm running through this with a company right now, and I will name it Lenovo. Um,
I'm not.
their customer service is horrific,
Yeah.
based on my experience.
Mhm.
So it's one of those things where I won't even do business with Lenovo, and
Right.
I love their products, right? I just won't do it because it's such a pain point to post. You need anything, and it's like it just doesn't happen,
Yeah.
and the person itself feels devalued.
Mhm.
And so as competition moves in, now Lenovo's a big company, they'll probably survive fine. But the reality is, how much market share do you suspect that companies who aren't doing your 6 principles are losing? If we looked at a percentage and say, hey, your revenue is probably down X, so your profits, down
Well,
Y, what would it be?
absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, all you have to do is think about how much it costs to get a new customer versus keeping your existing customers happy so that they keep coming back. Or if
Yes,
they piss them off like they did with you and you're never going to go back, they've
right,
lost that.
right.
So what is that revenue worth over a lifetime? What is your there's an acronym for it that's slipping my mind right now, but it's the lifetime value
Yeah,
of a customer.
LTV, right? So your lifetime value of your customer, it's,
Yeah,
and let's assume that, this company we're talking about, even with this entity I just mentioned, we only buy 6 to 10 new computers a year, right? And it's not a lot for
that is a lot. That's, that's a chunk of change, right?
well, if you go over, like, every year we're buying a new computer, so in 20 years we're buying 200 computers. And let's say that's happening not just to me, but
Yeah,
happening to 1,000 people who feel the same way.
exactly.
That's a lot of computers that could have been, sold through that brand. And
Yes. And if they're
well,
publicly traded, what does that do to their stock value?
yeah, exactly. And
Okay.
so if once we get this clear outcome, because I agree, build your life first, build your business around it, because otherwise, I find in businesses, one of the worst things that happens to entrepreneurs is they're running down paths enthusiastically that they don't want to go. They keep running. It's like, I'm making money, man, and they keep running. And then the years go by and all of a sudden it's
Yeah.
like other parts of their life aren't, they're
Yeah.
going through a divorce, they're having health issues, like you said in your earlier
Mhm.
period of life, you didn't eat right? That'll catch up to you over time.
Mhm.
Maybe not specifically you, but most people.
Oh, it
I know
did.
it did
Mm.
me.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, it did. So, yeah. So now at this point, part of living my dream is, I just came from the gym just a few minutes ago and, and I eat right. I do, drink my protein shakes and I don't eat carbs and sugar and things like that. And just, try to focus on being healthy because I want to stay young and vibrant for another 30, 40 years or
Mhm.
longer. And, people often say they're amazed at how much energy I have at my age because I'm older than I look.
You're
So,
29. You're 29, right?
yeah, absolutely.
For those of you watching the video, you got to take a look at this. Wait a minute. I have to ask this question. And I can hear my daughters going, Dad, don't ask this question, but I'm going to ask it anyways.
Oh,
How did you get yourself to be so amazingly presentable in such a short period of time? You just came from the gym. Your
oh.
hair is immaculate. Your makeup is perfect. It's like how I can't do that myself. I'm a guy, I mean, and I have no
Well,
hair. So
well, I have a system.
oh, oh, that's the secret. Go back to the six principles and apply them to our personal life as well.
Oh, all the time. Oh my God. Ask me about my Christmas principles and systems. Oh, yes. Birthday systems. People say, how do you always remember my birthday? I have a system.
System.
Mhm.
I'm going to ask one last question. Well, two last questions.
And thank you for the compliment, by the way.
Oh, you're so welcome. I mean, it's warranted. Like when you said you went to the gym, I'm like, what? When? Like,
Yeah. I left the gym about an hour ago. Yeah.
okay, I'm embracing your principles for that alone. So if somebody wants to know more about you, or they want to know more about, how do I take the course, or how do I get involved in
Oh, I love
understanding
that.
deeper,
Yeah.
how do they do it?
Well, the easiest way to do it is to go to my website, which is very simple, www.ralwest.com. So that's RALWEST.com. And is information about my course. I offer a free webinar that's about 45 minutes that goes into detail about, a couple of the principles and gives you kind of an overview of what is included in the course. So you can get a sample before you decide to invest in the course. And obviously, you can sign up for the course on the website too. But it also gives you a little bit more about my background and what I believe in. And this is all driven from a deep-rooted passion. You could probably tell I am totally passionate about this subject, and I believe to my heart and soul that people need to live the life of their dreams, and they can. They don't need to feel trapped. They can do what they want.
Well, you're living proof of that, right? I mean, now, so my second question, and this was my going to be my first, but I wanted people to be able to get access to you, um, is did you come from like a background where you were taught all of this? Like, did you have like lineage, like just seven, generations of entrepreneurs who got together when you were a little girl and said, Ralph, sit down, I'm going to teach you all this stuff, and you're going to, or did you kind of learn it as you went along?
I must admit, I have an entrepreneurial background.
Good.
Even my grandfather on my mother's side was in the gold rush to Alaska.
Wow.
So speaking of, being an adventurous spirit, and he and his brothers went up and started mining the beaches of Nome in 1901, 1902. And then my father was an entrepreneur and very successful. And so I learned a lot from him. And in fact, I was working for him when I moved to Alaska, and I'd gotten to the point where, okay, I don't want to work for you anymore. I'm on, I'm out of here. And and I did take a job as a director of marketing in a tour company in a smaller city in Alaska. But then I didn't like that because I felt like I knew how to run the business better than they did. So that's when I moved to Anchorage and started my own business. So I think it is in my blood. Alaska's in my blood. And certainly, one of the keys to being a successful entrepreneur is being willing to take a risk. So then then that leads to mindset and having the confidence to go for it. And there have been times in our entrepreneurial career where we were up against a wall and we, like, for example, the airlines that were serving our Anchorage Honolulu market pulled out of the market. We didn't have a way to get our passengers, our clients from Alaska to Hawaii. And we sat down and over lunch said, should we just close the doors? When we don't have any debt, we could just close the doors and walk away and go do something else. And we said, no, the people of Alaska need this service. They need a quick, inexpensive way to get to Hawaii. We need the sun, sand, and surf, in the cold, dark winters,
Sure.
especially in Anchorage. And so we plowed ahead and we gambled everything on chartering jets. In fact, my husband even got his mother to use her retirement account from being a school teacher. She put her school teacher retirement account up as collateral for a letter of credit to go against this charter because we had to guarantee the charter. You
Mhm.
paid X amount for this plane, whether you sold any seats or not. So that was really putting everything on the line. And we were willing to do it because we had confidence, we had the mindset, but also we had the data to back it.
So that was the question I was just going to ask you because, and thank you for sharing that because here's the thing, folks, no matter what business you're in, you're going to run up against the time in your business. If you're continuing to try to grow, it's going to happen. If it hasn't happened to you already 10 times, it will happen where
Mhm.
you're going to be in that position where it's like, oh, geez, what do I do here? And so I was going to ask you because of your 6 principles, if you're measuring and tracking the data, because you had mentioned your granddad was entrepreneurial, your dad was entrepreneurial, so you were around entrepreneurs and you were gaining information, like you said earlier, that form of leverage.
By osmosis, yeah.
Yeah, right. And so that was helpful to you. And but the fact that you had mentioned you were tracking and measuring the data, is that the sole reason that you gave you or the majority reason that gave you both the confidence to say, you know what, I'm going to bet on myself and I'm going to risk this because in the data it looks probable, it looks like it's doable.
Mhm.
Was that the deciding factor or were there something else?
Yes, you have to have guts, and you've got to have confidence in yourself. My husband is an excellent salesperson, and I did the spreadsheets, and I looked at all of our volume over this was our first charter was a summertime charter, and everybody said, "You're crazy. Alaskans don't go to Hawaii in the summer. What are you doing?" And yet I looked at, the number of passengers per flight and how many flights we wanted to operate, and then I looked at how many seats we had sold over the past several summers. And it's like, no, the numbers are here. We can do this. So I was confident in the numbers. And I was confident in my husband's ability to sell. And with his mother's retirement account on the line, he was entirely motivated and he was out, beating the sidewalks, beating the bushes, whatever. Because in those days, our major source of business was travel agents
Yep.
back when travel agents really had a place. And he would visit every travel agent and just, promote, 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 promote. And we did extremely well. We sold pretty much every seat and it was fantastic. So then that gave us the confidence to go on and charter bigger planes and longer contracts. And then we got to a point where we had to guarantee multi-million dollar contracts or guarantees. And my
Yep.
husband said, "Well, we don't have this several $1 million. And I said, don't worry about it. They can't take it from us if we don't have it. So go ahead.
But you had the data that was showing you that this was working.
Yes.
And so, and one other thing that I wanted to bring up that you just was so like you kind of like just laid it in there like natural talk, but I want people to catch this. You risked based on the data, gave you the confidence to be able to do it, but your husband and you went out and actually did the work.
Mm.
You did what was needed to get it to the next level. And folks, I don't care what your data tells you. I don't care how confident you are. If you don't get out and actually do the work,
Mhm.
your probability of success is going to be significantly lowered, if not eliminated. And
Yeah.
I see this, Ral, as one of the things that drives me crazy, because you can tell everybody, like, here's the data, here's what this worked. This looks
Yeah.
like it's got high probability. And then they go, oh, I'll
I know.
do it, but they don't do it.
I was just speaking recently to an entrepreneur who's like a solopreneur,
Yep.
and she wanted to hire somebody or get some other form of leverage, do marketing or something to go out and find new clients. And her service was incredibly personalized. It was her, it was her work and her reputation. And I said, you have to do it. You have to go out and make those appointments. You have to do the asking. You can't just hire somebody else to do that for you. And she was like, oh, I don't want to do that. No, that's what you have to do. And, there's maybe clever ways to do it and you need to teach yourself how, but that's it.
Yeah, and then eventually, to your points, you can build systems and processes and create leverage over time and have her system change so it doesn't have to specifically be her all the time. But when she's in this position that right now it's like, I don't know, you're going to go out with Oprah Winfrey. She can't put a stand-in in. It's impossible. You want Oprah Winfrey, right? So
Exactly.
and so that makes total sense. Ral, I thank you so much for being here and bringing your A game to the CEO Sales Strategies podcast. I knew you were going to, so thank you, thank you, thank you. Um, uh, any last parting words that you want to share with people?
Oh, wow. Well, you put me on the spot. I
You
just
did.
think that I believe firmly that anybody can do what they set their mind to do. And you don't need to be limited by gender, age, anything. Just go for it and have that confidence and faith in yourself. And don't accept any dead ends. There's always a way.
Perfectly said. Thank you so much. I appreciate you being here today.
Thanks, Doug.
All right, let's do the intro. Here we go. Hey everyone, this is Doug C. Brown with the CEO Sales Strategies podcast. I got a really great guest. Her name is Ral West, and Ral has a long history of building companies, and we're going to share together the principles that she's used to actually build these businesses and actually set up a life that everyone tends to want to have. And there's 6 core principles we're going to talk about. So get your pen, your paper out, write them on down. And let's talk to Ral in one moment. Folks, if you're interested in personalized, meaningful, relevant follow-up and you want a system for doing that, or you're interested in taking and growing your revenue, making it from unpredictable to predictable revenue, reach out to us or myself at doug@ceosalesstrategies.com and let me know you're interested, and we'll get some more info and some conversations going. Without further ado, let's go talk to Ral and let's talk about those principles. You're going to really like this. Okay, guys, let's keep it. Exit. All right, did you write them all down? Did you write all 6 down? Systems, measuring and tracking data, leverage in all kinds of forms, including information, building a team the right way, right? Your culture, teaching everybody the right way and what the culture should be, and your customer service. And, I've often said that customer service is not a separate function of the sales process. And a lot of companies do that. It's crazy to me, because with your customer service, they can be one of your strongest sales divisions in the company, if you do it right. And I loved what we talked about at the end there. Risk. Be willing to risk. Have the confidence to go for it, and you got to do the work necessary. And if you do those things, everything will be great. And step number one, which is what we teach you to do, is get clear on your truthful goal, your outcome. And once you do that, build your business around your life, not your life around your business. Speaking of creating leverage, if you are interested in having never drop a sale again, gaining more sales, and never losing a relationship and retaining your relationships forever and gaining more referrals out of those, follow-up is the number one reason that people don't have that. We created a automated, proactive, meaningful, and relevant follow-up system, and we're releasing that system. If you'd like to be one of the first to be on that system, it's called Vibitno, Vibitno. That means you matter in a Slavic language. Vibitno.com. Reach out to me for that, or if you want to grow your revenue in 2025, reach out to me at doug@ceosalesstrategies.com and email me and put in the headline, hey, I'm interested in follow-up, I'm interested in growing my revenue, and we'll have some dialogue and we'll assess if we can help you. All right, until next time, go out and sell something and make someone happy. As I say every time, sell, win, win, win. You win, they win, someone else wins. Please don't discount when you don't have to. If you build your value incorrectly, people will not ask for discounts. Remember, if you sell something, you might have to sell 6 or 10 other things to make up for the discount. So you don't want to be working harder and harder. As Ral says, you want to be creating leverage. Until next time, this is Doug C. Brown with the CEO Sales Strategies Podcast saying, to your success. Okay, guys, we'll keep that